talk about picking up these zone pressures and whatnot. Do you guys go with like any keys or anything like that, or any indicators, or is it just all at the line and whatnot?
Yeah, there's down and distance indicators. You can tell, third down obviously is a big down, second and long is a zone blitz down. So, most teams have those tendencies if you really dive into it. So hopefully we can, rely on that and it stays the same. Sometimes people can change and move things, so you got to be aware of it all the time. But usually have a pretty good idea of when it's coming.
I believe Coach Flip talked about this yesterday. You talk about obviously marking the downs and distance and whatnot. Is that kind of a little bit of the difficulties for you in the spring league? Because obviously you're going from a staff coming from Power 5 level, 30 plus people to about, I think you guys have 9 or 10 on staff. Does that kind of add an extra little bit? Do you incorporate the quarterbacks kind of acting, especially the third QBs, acting in the more of an analyst role in spring football?
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Patrick. It's really difficult. You don't have near the staff, that you would have like in college football. You have, GAs, you have analysts, you have all those guys that can do all that work. So, we put in a pretty long day here to get all that stuff done. But you have to, and we do involve the quarterbacks in that thing during the games. Particularly, a third quarterback does a lot of charting for us that we have communication with during the game to make sure we're seeing the right things.
Now, I know it's not your room because I know Coach Flip is technically the QB's coach. But what's your message to not only Josh, but Case and Troy? Obviously, Josh getting the nod this week. But what's kind of that last pep talk to give to him before he goes out there, and the other two guys who probably will not be playing that much this weekend, as far as, keeping, one, their head in the game, and two, just kind of mindset for next year and whatnot?
Yeah, I think one thing is just staying within the system. Don't try to do too much. Just execute the play. And then the other thing is to really be attuned. And all three of those guys, when they've played, have struggled at times directing the pass protections. There are times where your quarterback has to direct the pass protection because where you want to throw hot, or where the blitz is coming from. And, they've all three got work to do there. We've been working really hard with Josh the last 2 weeks on that, and hopefully see some of the fruits of that this weekend.
For Josh, do you feel that you specifically with him have to kind of dial him in a little bit more because there might be some exterior pressure? Regardless of Case, coming back to the Showboats, the odds are that if Case Cook is on the waiver wire, someone will pick him up. Troy's got a ton of upside, and not only that, he's got the skill, the experience of playing. Josh has had his cup of tea, played a lot of games in 2023. Do you feel that it's going to be one of the biggest things is kind of keeping him, for lack of a better term, zenned out, because this is essentially a big opportunity for him to be the guy for someone?
Yeah, and I think that's what I was talking about, Patrick, when I said, play within the system. Don't try to do too much. Just, let the system work for you. And I tell you, Josh did a great job of that, like I said, in the fourth quarter last week. I mean, he was anticipating things. He was getting the ball out quick. He was finding open people. And that's all he's got to do. He's just execute the play. So, yeah, we'll certainly have that discussion.
Coach, final question from me. You talk about the difficulty of these guys picking up the slides and the pass protections and whatnot. What do you and I don't want you to talk ill about any other coaching or coaches and whatnot, but do you feel that just goes down to even their levels in college and whatnot as well? You always hear the mantra of so many offensive linemen when they get to the NFL, half these kids have never been in a 3-point stance through Pee Wee. Yeah. You kind of feel like that's a little bit of y'all's problem as well, where these coaches aren't doing the basic, and it's just like, hey, it worked, let's keep doing it type.
Yeah, you're talking about the development of a quarterback, Patrick, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, very seldom do you find quarterbacks in college that are playing from under the center. You just start there, because in pro football you got to play from under the center at times for various reasons. And also, when you're in those spread offenses that all the colleges are running right now, the pass protections are relatively simple. So, yeah, directing pass protections and understanding those type of things, it's hard. And in the spring league, obviously, we don't have the OTAs and those type of things to you have that extra time to prepare and do those things. So there's really a rush. That's why the experience of a quarterback, I think, in this league is really important. And you look at most of the teams that are doing really well, they've got pretty experienced quarterbacks that are used to doing those things.
Thank you, Coach. Just want to say, when you have these full circle moments, when bringing a guy like Terrell back, obviously we've seen it with Skip and Jamar. Just real quick, how does that make you feel to be able to see this guy, back in the fold once more, someone you've known since he was a teenager, essentially?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I've stayed in touch with a lot of those guys that I've coached. And Terrell and I have always stayed in touch. He was one of my favorite guys, and just a guy that really appreciated the opportunity that we gave him. So it's nice to have that reward and be with him again.
Rick, extremely versatile and whatnot. Is that something we could see a little bit more as well? Not just with this being the last game, more of an opportunity for these guys to showcase their skill sets and whatnot for the next level?
I told them at the beginning of the year, I said, hey, there are going to be some times where I'm going to have to shuffle you guys around because of injury and, the way that the league is set up where you don't have a lot of kind of look team or squad practice squad guys, the fatigue gets to be a bit much at times. And so we saw a lot of hamstring injuries throughout the course of the season in the secondary in particular. Now, some of the guys enjoy the change, some of them don't, but because they want to showcase, at a particular position. And unfortunately, because of the numbers, it requires me to move some of the guys to different positions. And guys like Quentin Meeks or Lamont McFadder, 23, Delrick Abrams, TJ Green, a lot of these guys have played multiple positions this year, and which is very difficult because the skill sets and the studying of what goes where is a lot different. Meaning, if I have a corner outside and then I bring him inside to play in the box, well, a corner doesn't usually have to worry about run fit so much. They just, worry about being on the island and covering their guy. And so when I asked them to come in at safety or nickel or dime, that's a whole new system that they have to get ready for. So I don't try to do that too much because I understand that. So guys that have been able to do it, I have to give them, extra credit for at least willing to go along with the program to get us through the game or the season.
Coach, to expand on this more, for some of your first-year players, I can imagine guys who've been in these leagues for the last year or two probably get it. But when you're talking to them, especially in the beginning of the season, I hate to call it like being a master of none because I don't think that's the right example. But do you have those conversations with guys as far as like, hey, like you might have to like kind of pick up some slack, especially some of these stronger safeties coming down into the box to fill in. And do you feel that that has kind of, made the team and the league a lot better as far as having more football centered minds and whatnot, expanding their knowledge?
Actually, preferably if I could, I'd like to have specialists on the field because ideally, they could just concentrate on one thing and get better at that. But I think for the development of the guys in their football IQ and the understanding big picture, personnel sets, formation sets, all the different running attacks that offense will have, inside zone, outside zone, counter, power, all those things, they're learning all of these things kind of, some of these guys are learning this, as they go. And so I've always thought that if you could understand kind of how the defense is put together, what your role is in those defenses, and see the big picture, you're going to be just a better overall player. You'll recognize offensive formations and personnel sets and be able to diagnose and analyze, and which helps you play quicker. I've played with a lot of guys myself that weren't the best athletes, but they were so good at recognition. If they ran a 4.6 or 4.7 even, they looked like they were out there running 4.4, 4.3 because they can anticipate so quickly. So that's kind of in part what I'm doing is trying to improve their football IQ and their experience so that when they do get called up and they're asked to play a position that they're not used to, just to make the team, they'll be comfortable and knowledgeable about it, and maybe that'll help them make the squad at another level.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, you talk about the special period in practice. Obviously, it seems like Houston has been very focused on one man this year. When the earlier part of the season, it was Kurt, now Justin. What's kind of the message to the team as far as that? Like, is it a golden penny on someone essentially, as far as letting them know, like, hey, know where number 11 is on the field at all times?
Yeah, we designate that. That's always in things that we start the week on, and you know, last week we had certain guys that we were looking at, and this week will be the same. We always do that. But at the same time, it's about all 11 guys doing their job. You know, unless you're really having a bracket coverage or you know, you're playing a guy like offensively like an Aaron Donald, where you have to change the schemes and this and that, or you're the separate coverage for a receiver. You know, it's about all 11 guys staying disciplined, and that's what I want. I just want to see sound defensive football. I want to see us challenge people, and so that's what I'm looking for.
Coach, you talk about obviously Josh getting the nod this week and whatnot. You talked about injuries. I apologize if you mentioned this earlier. Is there any chance we kind of see, you know, Cole come back this week, or Troy, in case healthy enough that they could actually be QB2 this week?
Yeah, they're both healthy enough. They're both healthy enough to play. I mean, they both have issues going on medically. You know, they're banged up a little bit, like everybody is this time of year. But Josh, in my opinion, the last couple of times he's gotten on the field, he's earned the right to start and see what he can do, and I'm excited for him.
Coach, have you guys had that conversation with any of the players about the audition essentially for 2025? I know we talked about it last week a little bit as well, but pushing forward, making sure that guys are focused despite the record. And, you know, if you want to get to the NFL, you're not going to get there doing loafs in week 10 of the UFL. Is that message pretty loud and clear for a lot of these guys, or you're having to kind of continue to reinforce that?
No, guys know. Guys know. And the way we practice today, I think, you know, I'm not saying that's going to go win us or lose us a football game on Sunday, but it's a good start to the week, and it's a building block in the process to finishing the job. And so if I would have felt that today at practice, I would have acknowledged that with them and brought a point like that up. But I did not feel that way out of our guys today.
Thank you, Coach.